Okay.
We are live. Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, September 12th, 2023 at 6 p.m., and I would like to call to order tonight's regular meeting of the Millwood City Council. If we could have a roll call to establish quorum. Lisa, you want to make the roll call, or?
Sure. Kelly Stravens,
Present.
Dan Sander,
Present.
Andy Van Hees,
Present.
Sean Collard,
Here.
Shauna Beese. Present. Mayor Freeman.
Present. So let the record reflect that we have a quorum of council members tonight. All members are present. And at this time, I would like to ask people to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll do this one tonight. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We got an exec session, right? Okay. All right, so.
I have it.
Right.
Must be sitting at the kitchen table or.
You'll just.
Dirty plate.
Okay. So, at this point, I would like to ask council for an approval of tonight's meeting agenda, or if there are any changes to be made. We will have an executive session tonight. The purpose will be stated at the time of the executive session. But is there anyone who wishes to make any motions for changes to tonight's agenda? Do I have a motion on approval for tonight's agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none opposed, tonight's meeting agenda as presented is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. And that leads us to our first of our reports and presentations tonight. First up is Michael Sparber and Scott Simmons to present to council the Spokane County Office of Law and Justice Proposition 1 presentation. So I'm not really sure who.
So, Mayor, it changed to the CEO Simmons was unable to make it tonight, and I have Patrick Bell, which is the communications officer.
Okay.
I'm gonna kind of pull this out of the way so I don't have my bottom end sitting in your face, if that's okay. Is that gonna work okay?
Yeah, that'll work.
Is it on? Yeah. Okay, there we go.
Just give me a minute.
Okay, well, thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate it. Tonight, we're here to talk about Measure 1, which I'm sure it has not escaped your attention. It's been in the newspaper quite a bit and also on the news. So we wanted to have an opportunity to get to kind of give you the educational level. I won't be advocating to or for. It'll strictly be an educational campaign tonight. And so we'd like to start it off with a video if we could.
The video?
That's
Okay.
the cue.
In December 2022, the Board of County Commissioners of Spokane County adopted a resolution to add Measure Number 1 to the November 7, 2023 general election ballot. Let's talk about how Spokane County intends to use its revenue from Measure Number 1 to address criminal justice, public safety, and behavioral health needs resulting in part from population growth in the region. Measure Number 1 is a law and justice proposal for Spokane County. It would add a new 0.2% sales and use tax on purchases beginning April 1st, 2024, and running through December 31st, 2054. For every $10 spent by residents, visitors, and tourists in Spokane County, an additional 2 cents will be collected. 60% of the collected revenue will be allocated to Spokane County government, and 40% of the collected revenue will be allocated based on population to its cities and towns. Cities and towns can use their share of Measure Number 1 funds to meet local criminal justice, public safety, and behavioral health needs. Why Measure Number 1? Population in Spokane County has been growing rapidly in recent years. As a community grows, so does its needs for criminal justice, public safety, and behavioral health investments. Just like growing populations means a need for more schools, libraries, parks, hospitals, and other public infrastructure. That is true in Spokane County today, where our criminal justice system is facing an overcrowded correctional facility and congested courts. Mental health needs and addiction rates are increasing. Crime rates are also going up. The need for resources to address these community needs is what led to the initiation of Measure Number 1. Let's take these issues one by one. First, let's talk about criminal justice needs in our community. Due to overcrowding and outdated correctional facilities, today nearly 14% of low-level offenders are being booked and immediately released from the Spokane County Jail as a capacity management tool approved by the district and municipal courts. Law enforcement officers oftentimes wait in long booking queues. So how would Spokane County spend its Measure Number 1 revenues on improvements? To begin with, Spokane County can allocate Measure Number 1 revenues to improve criminal justice facilities and programs at all phases, from inmate booking and detention to release and community reentry. To reduce overcrowding and allow expanded programming, approximately $300 million would be used for constructing new facilities. Spokane County would consolidate inmates from different facilities in a new housing facility and a new community correction center on a central campus. That campus would be known as the Law and Justice Center of Spokane County. Measure Number 1, though, is about more than just new criminal justice facilities. It's about inmate programs like breaking barriers and helping justice-involved individuals successfully re-enter the community. Expanded programming in new classroom spaces for individuals in custody would include drug and alcohol treatment, job and communication skills, anger management, and GED classes. Using revenues provided by Measure Number 1, Spokane County also proposes to make investments in criminal justice system improvements, from courtrooms and judges to prosecutors and public defenders. Plus, Measure Number 1 can fund investments in domestic violence programs and therapeutic or problem-solving courts, like mental health court or veterans court, that allow inmates to obtain treatment and services to address needs that may have contributed to the conduct leading to their arrest in the first place. Furthermore, Measure Number 1 can fund criminal justice reform recommendations from advisory groups like the Spokane Regional Law and Justice Council, made up of subject matter experts and community representatives. That can include smart justice programs aimed at reducing the number of people in custody, such as at-home electronic monitoring, jail diversion approaches, and alternative sentencing options. Moving on to public safety, Measure Number 1 revenues can be used by Spokane County towns and cities to pay for public safety initiatives, such as hiring more law enforcement officers and providing enhanced training. Measure Number 1 can also expand co-deployed behavioral health teams that work with first responders to help provide safe resolutions for people in crisis. These teams help ensure better outcomes for those in crisis, diverting them from being arrested and instead directing them to therapy or services. On behavioral health, Measure Number 1 can fund programs like expanding and enhancing Spokane County's Crisis Stabilization Center, a facility that provides short-term care and intervention for people who are experiencing a behavioral health crisis in lieu of incarceration. This center helps people in crisis. Still have questions? Spokane County officials are attending community meetings leading up to the November 7th, 2023 general election on Measure Number 1 to educate the public about Measure Number 1. For more information, please also visit our website.
Okay, so the video covers much of what's in the PowerPoint presentation, but I'm happy to talk about it. So primarily, you learned from the video that Measure 1 is not just about a jail, and that's what you hear, out there in kind of the rumblings, but really it's much more than that. And it's focused on three primary buckets, and that's criminal justice reform efforts, public safety, and behavioral health. And by that, it means that cities and towns, when they receive their portion of the money, can spend their portion of their sales tax on those purposes as well. So as we're talking along and you look at the jail facilities, some background. The Geiger Corrections Facility was built in 1952. It was an Army war barracks. It was used by Fairchild at the time for housing staff in it. It was retrofitted primarily with barbed wire fence and some other security measures to make it suitable for low-end misdemeanor and those type of crimes to be housed out there as a service and overflow for the jail. And then the downtown jail was designed for 462, and it's designed for all comers. It's got a range of low, medium, and high-risk beds that are there. And as it's stated in the video, our population has grown. In 1986, when the jail was built, it had a population of just over 300,000, and now, of course, we're up into 600,000. So it's a critical part of the public safety infrastructure, as with the other uses of Measure 1, which is the court-related functions. Currently, our courts are congested. When COVID struck, they had a very limited window when they could hold courts. They had to utilize social distancing and some of those other measures. We set up a kind of a micro court out at the fairgrounds to kind of, alleviate some of the pressure. But the outcome was the same, and that's a backup of all the criminal cases along with the civil cases. And so Superior Court is working their hearts out trying to catch up that backflow. So we recognize that when they talk about their workflow, they expressed that they wanted a 13th judge. Part of this would be help to pay for the 13th judge and probably more, the 14th, 15th, and 16th judge, if that's what it requires, in order to get the system moving faster, to turn the beds over faster in the jail. So one thing you should know about the jail is that the jail doesn't decide who comes to jail, how long they stay in jail, or when they get out. That's all decided by the criminal justice systems. So it behooves us to spend money and apply dollars where it's necessary to help the system move forward. Another part of this component is behavioral health. The co-deployed teams downtown where you have, MHP along with the law enforcement officer that can be there in some of these cases and, identify a mental health crisis, get the right resources located, and try to help them through that process. If they pick up a criminal charge, they could go to our Crisis Stabilization Center, which has been a great success because it handles primarily the low-end charges that have been identified by the prosecutors, and they could book, is this time, the train always come about this time? Oh, well, I could deal with it. So, but going back to that, we'd like to expand upon those services and look for something that is therapeutic in custody, be also located inside the jail so that it would have a secure portion of it and a voluntary unsecure portion of it as well. Law enforcement could be increased out on the streets for more public safety. And so there's a numerous amount of things that could be applied with this measure. So it's just not about, the jail purpose. It's wide encompassing, and it has a lot of opportunity if all of us take advantage of it regionally and apply the dollars, have a voice in how it's going to be spent, and then apply our dollars smartly towards the criminal justice system and, some of those functions that go along with it. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on it. And I don't know, Mayor, the protocol for you to address this, but I would fall to you.
So I'll ask the council, do we have any questions for Director Sparber? Who's here?
I thought the video was very informative. Much more information than we received to date.
So typically what I would say is because we're not in regular session, is there anybody from the audience at this time who has a question for our director up here at the time? Yes, let's just go Shereen and then the next gentleman.
Sir, should I step down from the microphone?
No, you're fine. Shereen, you can just stand up.
Yeah, so Shereen Young of 8903 East Liberty. You say 60% goes to the county and it's like 40% to cities and towns, and that's based on, I guess, population. So what does that mean for our cities and towns?
So, do I have that break? I don't think I have the graph that breaks it down, or do I? Pat?
I think it's in the back there.
Okay.
Under, projected forecast or something.
Yep.
The 50% goal.
And I will look real quick. I apologize.
You don't have a PowerPoint?
Is that on your PowerPoint? Because it's not, okay.
I don't think it's located on the PowerPoint. You know what? I'll have to get back to you on that part of it. But to answer your question, I don't know the specific amount that you'll get. And it's also based on a projection. It's a forecast based on 3.9%. And whether or not that falls or lowers depends on how much actual revenue you gain off of it. 60% of it that the county is talking about is earmarked to go to the services that we just showed you on the video. The discretion of the other funds are totally up to the cities and the counties to make plans for how they want to spend those. And so not having the total amount with me, I can always get your information and send you the breakdown of it, but it's broken down by percentages. So it doesn't actually give you the total revenue, it's broken down by percentage based on population. So, can I help you more on that? Yes.
It's on the website if you want to reference.
Okay, yeah, oh, It's on the website. That's why I have these guys here, my team. Yeah, go ahead.
So Spokane County's share would be 60%, City of Spokane is 23.8, the Valley is 11%, City of Cheney is 1.3, Liberty Lake's 1.3, Airway Heights is 1.13, Medical Lake, we get down into decimals, Millwood would be 0.1974% of the total amount.
Total revenues. Does that answer it? Yeah, well, but more importantly, what can you do with that 1.9? That's the important question, what as residents do you want to see on the public safety side for those, it could be used for public safety, and it could be used for behavioral health and some of the educational program. What do you want to see out of the criminal justice system? It's important. And so we're hoping that you provide some feedback on some of that, and it's at the discretion of the town, what they want to do with the proceeds for that part of it, so.
Other questions? We had one over here.
Kyle Mint, I live at 10306 East Empire. I noticed in your video it says can be used, not will be used.
So the
So
reason,
discretionary, government gets 60%, they can use it, but it doesn't say they will use it for that.
yes, sir. It's because the buckets are wide range. Like I said, it's mental health, behavioral health, and then some public safety portion of it. So we don't make the decisions up to the other towns on how they want to use it. The county knows how we want to use our 60%, and that's what we identified in the video. But the discretion of the other funds can be used how you want to use them, as long as it falls within the RCW in those 3 buckets. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, yes, sir. That's a good question too, by the way. Thank you.
Other questions? So at this time, because there may be the appearance that this is for or in favor of Measure 1, I would like to ask if there is anybody in the audience who wishes to make a brief statement against Measure 1 at this time, in the equal or the for fairness purposes, and so we hear both sides. Is there anyone out there?
Yeah, and my goal was to be strictly educational.
This is.
But you know what? I've got tough skin. I'm ready to hear the other side too. And so I welcome that portion of it too. But again, ours is from an educational standpoint. And we really, really, really want to do our best job, as Pat will allude to, of education. Getting down to the grassroots. What are those hard questions you need answered? What are the questions that you want to have, our justice professionals address for you? Because I know there's questions that come up, and if you think of those, again, go to our website, get a hold of one of us, and we'd be happy to address those for you. So,
Drug use.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Any other comments from the council? So with that, thank you very much for the county coming out. We do appreciate the opportunity to hear from the county directly as to what they're looking at, so thank you. At this time, we'll move on to item number 5, which other presentations. This is our presentation from Welch Comer regarding the new city water lines proposed for 2024.
Hello, it's been a while since I've been here. I'm Nisha Mayani with Welch Comer, and I brought with me Derek Huff. He's one of our project engineers. And so tonight we're just gonna do a very brief overview of the waterline projects staff would like to complete in 2024. And this goes along with your agenda item 8E, which is our engineering services agreement to assist with completion of the water line. So I'm gonna turn it over to Derek to give you the overview once the PowerPoint is up.
All right, yeah, so like Nisha said, I'm Derek Huff with Welch Comer. We have a very, very brief presentation. You can go ahead to the second slide there. So first wanted to give an overview of what we're looking at. The 2019 or 18 water system facility plan identified some problem water lines, old steel mains that are leaking heavily, contributing to the system's daily loss. So in part of that, the city has elected to replace 3 sections of water line that are shown on that map. The one up in the top right that's listed as Project 1, that was Frederick, just east of Locust. That was completed last year, and so now we're on to Projects 2A and B, which are the 2 on the left there. So Project 2A, that would be Grace Road between Sargent and Laura, and then the other one is Trent between Sargent and Dale. And so we will be looking at replacing the section along Grace and then abandoning the section along Trent. So you can go ahead and on to the next slide there. Just wanted to look at what the project schedule looks like on that. Assuming we get the go-ahead today, we're looking at doing the preliminary analysis to make sure that abandoning the section along Trent is viable over the next couple weeks, and then getting into final design into the middle of October. Hopefully bidding the projects November and December, and then due to the weather turning, construction windows probably looking at April and May of next spring. And then the overall budget, construction budget for these 2 projects looks like around $175,000.
Would you like us to go through the task order?
Yeah, you might as well, because that is an action item tonight, so if somebody could go through the task order now, that would be good, and then you guys can go on.
Okay, so yeah, there's several phases to this. So the first phase, 1.1, that's the design phase. So again, we're gonna be looking at designing the Grace Waterline project, completing a hydraulic analysis to make sure that abandoning that water line along Trent will not negatively impact the fire flows to the commercial areas out there. Preparing bid documents for the bid, and then working with the city staff to make sure that everything is incorporated as they want. Phase 1.2 will be the bid phase, so this project is below $350,000, so we anticipate doing it as our request for quote from 5 contractors. We'll be doing a pre-bid walkthrough and then doing a formal bid with them. And then construction phase services, just kind of handling the admin side of the construction project as it's happening. Construction staking through our survey department, and then having an on-site representative for the city throughout construction. And then the total cost of that task order is $21,800.
All right, so any questions for council, from council to our engineers on either the next 2 phases of the abandonment and replacement of the line, or any questions on the task order? I'm not sure, I don't think you guys are gonna hang out for the rest of this meeting, because we've cut a long one. So I would urge you that if, when reading your packet, if you had any questions come up on task order 2301, time to ask is now. Mr. Sander.
I think it's a great idea to get out to bid this fall. In the past, we've had a short turnaround window, and I think we paid a premium for some of those projects, so good planning. And do I understand the Trent 4-inch would just be disconnected, or not gonna be replaced?
Correct, yeah, so the facility plan listed that as being upsized as part of development, and so theoretically, if that's kind of like the next block to the west was a few years ago, so basically it'd be abandoning it right now, put a blow off at the end of Dale, and then if that does develop into something bigger, make that part of the development, but they have to put an 8-inch line through there to, yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we'll do public comments received for action items. In accordance with the requirements of the Washington State Open Public Meetings Act, the city accepts written comments concerning meeting items that are proposed for final action by the city. May be submitted up to 24 hours prior to this meeting by either regular mail, electronic mail, or directly to City Hall. All comments are distributed to the City Council prior to the meeting so that they can review and consider prior to taking the action. So have we received any public comments tonight in any form? All right, so we have no public comments for our action items tonight. And that is, so I guess what we can do is, we've got to go to executive session. If you want to make copies of that and give it out at the table, that would be good.
Oh, is it written?
Is it written?
Well, that's written, and we're ready to speak. It's less than 2 minutes. I believe that's the rule.
We don't allow public speaking on the action items. We take them by written. We allow public remarks following the action items. If you want to stay for the public remarks, you're welcome to.
I believe that you don't want to hear about that action item from a Millwood homeowner before you take action.
No, the city's adopted a protocol under the Open Public Meetings Act for if action items taken by the council to submit those comments in writing so the
But
council
it
can
doesn't say you
consider.
must, it says you may.
No, that's the action that the city has taken. You can certainly make your verbal comments during the public remarks portion at the end.
It says you may do it, it doesn't say you must.
Sir, not a debate. That's
Yeah,
the
it's-
action the city's taken.
we're good.
So,
I'm just using.
We're good, thank you.
reading what it says on your own agenda.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So, we do have an executive session tonight. Do you want to go for it? 10? So, executive session regarding,
City Council will convene to executive session pursuant to RCW 4230-110 subsection 1I to discuss pending litigation for 10 minutes unless otherwise extended. The council will not be asked to take action. It is not anticipated the council will be asked to take action upon conclusion of the executive session.
okay, so we
haven't
need,
started yet, all these people have to leave.
we need council members,
They're gonna start.
myself, and Mr. Worst, and we will go, in order to not make everybody move, we will go to the back office. So we are going to start for 10 minutes.